Hello and welcome to video number 2, which is conversion basics. In this specific video, we're going to talk about what needs to happen before you begin to drive traffic and market your book. Without this, you will blindly hit the bullseye. So in other words, you have to focus on the conversions and make sure that you can increase the conversions as much as possible so that when you do drive traffic and you do have a potential buyer that comes to your book sales page, they are more likely to buy your book. Or if they bought your book, they are more likely to avoid refunding your book. So there are two things that we want to cover today. The first thing is editing and proofreading. Now, this might be seemingly obvious, but one of the biggest mistakes that most people forget to do is this. They forget to do proofreading. They feel as if the book author can go out and proofread and that's fine. But in reality, you want to find a professional. Instead of you and you alone doing the editing and proofreading, you want to do the editing and proofreading yourself, but that should not be the final step. The final step should be hiring a professional proofreader to proofread your book. Now, I'm going to actually show you places that you can go to get it done for cheap. And I know this tends to be a big question and a big roadblock that a lot of book authors face because, frankly, a lot of proofreaders out there charge a huge amount of money. But if you really know how to differentiate the difference between somebody who just proofreads in terms of the grammatical and spelling errors and somebody who actually proofreads your book in terms of the way that your book is laid out, if it really makes sense, and things like that. So the thing you want to do in terms of approach is you want to focus on flowing your creativity out through your book. And then, of course, edit yourself, and then afterwards go out and market it, not the other way around. Then, only then, what you can do is go through it once, have a friend that likes the topic, read it. Now, notice I say likes the topic. You don't really want to choose just any friend. You want to choose a friend that actually is interested in the topic at hand. Otherwise, they are not really going to like it per se. They may not like it. They may find other things that really somebody who would be interested in that specific topic, it would stand out to them. So you want to make sure you find somebody who enjoys the topic at hand. You want to then re-edit that particular book, then outsource your proofreading. Let me show you exactly step by step where to go, how to do it, and things like that. Now, there are two different sites that I personally use in terms of finding good proofreaders. Now, you have to keep in mind that there is a difference between somebody who simply checks your spelling and things like that, and some people will only check your spelling, they won't check your grammar. So, some people, on the other hand, will only check your grammar and spelling. They won't check if the sentences around the other sentences really make sense. What you want to find if you go to Fiverr.com is somebody who can proofread the grammatical and the spelling errors. If that's the case, then you can actually find somebody who will do it for a fairly cheap job. Now, I've used this person here, they've done a great job, and this person here as well. You can actually contact them if your book is longer than such amounts. You can say, hey, I have a book about this amount, and what kind of deal can you cut me? That way you're not paying the certain amount that they have listed. So, for example, they're charging $5 for 2,500 words. If that's the case, then let's say you have 2,500 times 10. If you paid up front, it would be 5 times 10. So that would be $50. But what I normally do is I would contact them. Sometimes these people will give you like half off, but you have to contact them and negotiate with them first. So Fiverr.com is a great place to go, and you can even say, hey, will you proofread it, not just for grammatical spelling, but also for sentence structure, how your book is laid out, and things like that. Because you want to get somebody who can not just do spelling and basic grammatical checks, but also take a look at your sentence structure and to see if that sentence fits in that particular chapter and things like that. Now, if you want to do that, you'd have to pay a little bit more, and you might want to head on over to a site called odesk.com. And at this point, you can click on Hire Freelancers, type in proofread book, and I would say use the same approach. I would contact them and say, hey, can you do the spelling checks, grammatical checks, as well as sentence structure and things like that. Now, in terms of weeding out people, I want to choose a perfectionist in terms of writing. So 4.5 stars and above is good. Hourly rate, I would say anywhere up to $20 an hour. I would say any hours. No, I would say 1 hour at least. But if you really want to get down to somebody who really has experience, you could do 100 plus hours. And then, of course, any location. What I found is usually North America is good, depending on where you're located, obviously. So I'm located in North America, so I'm going to choose North America. Now, I don't want to fully weed out somebody who might be really good at their proofreading. For example, you wouldn't probably never believe this, but people in the Philippines, there are a few people out there that have really good, grammatical proofreading and stuff like that, those types of skills. So just be aware of that. And you don't even have to specify any location, but what you do want to do is you want to start opening these in different windows. And a proofreader is normally a type of person who is a perfectionist, is very detail oriented. So you want to kind of look for somebody like that who is very concerned about their work. So we can take a look at their work history, what kind of work they have done, their tests that have taken. And for example, English spelling test, we want somebody who has a higher percentile score, maybe 80% and above. If we don't see that, we can always move on to the next person. For example, this person has an English spelling test, 85% and above, 97% for English tests for the UK, English vocabulary and UK vocabulary very high, as we can see here. So this would be a good candidate for us to contact and talk to. Now, before you actually hire them, you definitely want to talk to them and take a look at what they have edited and proofread in the past. Get an idea of what they have done and see if it's something that is similar to yours. If you can find somebody who has done something similar, possibly to your book or a similar area related to your book, that's a plus, because then you don't have to find somebody who doesn't have experience in that area. So you found somebody who has experience, you don't really have to retrain them. They have the experience, they can go out, do it. You don't have to waste your time and things like that. So 4 things to look for. I don't even read this stuff. I just skip over it. Number 1, work history and feedback. Have they done what you need to be done? Number 2, take a look at the test taken. Number 3, if they do have a portfolio, take a look at that. You need to have an account to view their portfolio. And of course, number 4, contact them and then talk to them and get an idea of if they can really do what you're looking for. And that's it. Now let's talk about book conversions. Once you have in hand a book that has been proofread and finalized and it's ready to go, there's one thing that you still want to look at, which is the book cover. In order to get your book to convert fairly well, you need to have, the book, some sort of summary, but most importantly, the book cover. Because people, unfortunately, do judge a book by its cover. And your book cover is the first thing people will see. So you want to make sure that you choose your images and your book designer and creator wisely. Because when somebody looks at that book image, it has to appeal to them. It has to appeal to that particular audience. And at the same time, it has to be congruent with what your story or what your book is all about. And when I mean congruent, when somebody looks at your book cover, they are going to have some sort of assumption. And that assumption, when they buy the book, they expect to have that book fulfill their answers, answer their questions, solve their problems, and this and that. So if it's a fiction book, obviously it's not nonfiction. If it's fiction, it's meant to entertain. If it's nonfiction, it's most likely meant to solve a problem. But what I mean by that is you want to make sure that your book is aligned with the book content itself. And because you want to avoid refunds. If your book cover is about a picture, let's say, of a dog, maybe a golden retriever puppy being trained, and your book is really about something else like dog training, not necessarily puppy training, and specifically a golden retriever puppy training, and it's not specified on the front cover of the book itself, you may get some refunds. Because the expectation is that somebody is looking for a golden retriever puppy training book, but instead they got something slightly different. So they will be upset and most likely refund the book. So that's why book conversions are so important. Now, unless you can really create a stunning cover yourself, it's better off to get a professional to handle it for you. Let me explain and show you exactly where to find a book designer that can do a very good job for you. Okay, now there are two different ways that you can do this. Number one, you can outsource this to a graphic book designer. And that's what I highly recommend that you do. Simply because the design that you're going to get back is going to be very customized to your liking. And there's some stuff that book designers can do that we as non-graphic designers just cannot do. So it's just better to get somebody who knows what they're doing and really enjoys what they're doing versus you trying to do it yourself. Now, there are template systems out there where you can get pre-made book templates, or you can even use a book templating system, which I'll show you as well. So I want to provide you with two different routes that you can take, but I'd highly recommend that you take the first one. So there is a particular site that I use called odesk.com. Odesk.com is really, really awesome. You're able to find freelancers, which are basically people who will be doing work for you. In this case, what we want to do is we want to type in book graphic design or book covers and this and that. So we could say book cover graphic design. Click on search. And this is the type of criteria that I use. I want anybody with 4.0 stars and above. Now, to be strict, if I can't find anybody, I'll move it up to 4.5 stars and above. So I'm going to choose that. Hourly rate, I found that anybody with above $5 at least. I don't want anybody below that, just from experience. But you can try any variation that you want. So we're going to say $5 to $20 per hour. And you can do two different types of projects. You can do fixed term projects and you can also do hourly projects. But this is just a way to weed out people who may not have as much feedback. We're going to just say 1 hour. In terms of hours billed, that means that they have had projects in the past. You can also do 100 hours plus hours. That means people who have been on Odesk for a long, long time. Location, you can pick any location that you want. In this case, we're going to leave it as it is. Now that I'm done with that, what I'll normally do is this. I will normally begin to open these up in new windows. Now, you can't really see that right now because I have my browser in such a way, but you can set it up, and we're going to open these tabs up. And my goal here is simply to open all these tabs up so that I can get a better bird's eye view of the types of people that I'm dealing with. So you can see overview here to get an idea of what they can do, but I don't really look at that. I look at the feedback and the work history, because that really tells you what they have done and if they have experience in certain areas like create space cover designs. If you want to do Amazon create space, this person has previous experience, which means you don't have to retrain them or ask them to do it and learn it from scratch. So find somebody that can already do it. That would be great. Now, in order to see their portfolio, you have to have an account. I would advise you, if you don't have an account, go ahead and create an account. Now, you can also see the skills that they have, but most importantly, the tests that they have taken. So I tend to look at the portfolio, the work history and feedback, and the tests that they have taken. So as you can see, English spelling test is about 16 percentile, which is great because that tells us if we give them a specifications of exactly what book cover we want, most likely Eugene will be able to come back and understand exactly what we want. Now, MS Word test, that doesn't really matter because we want somebody who is fluent with Adobe Photoshop. So he is 57th percentile of Photoshop. Now, I would do the same thing. I would scroll down, look at every single person, get an idea of who may be a good candidate. And what I would normally do after that is I would think, okay, I found a bunch of people that have really good skill sets that I need. Now what you want to do is simply post a job and then invite them to the job. Now you can't actually contact them until you invite them to your job to apply to your job. So you have to have a job position open in order to contact them. When you contact them, you'll invite them to your project, and then they of course can contact you, talk to you, and so forth. But that's just the way that I use in order to find a good graphic designer in terms of books. Is number one, make sure that they have experience, and number two, make sure that they have good feedback and work history, and number three, take a look at their tests and skill sets, and number four, take a look at their portfolio to see whether their style of design is what you want, because not all the graphic designers out there will have the same style. Everybody has a different style, so you got to keep that in mind. There's a site called getabookcover.com which will allow you to purchase affordable pre-made book covers. And as you can see, we clicked on the thriller category for this specific site, and you can see a lot of pre-made book covers that you can just simply buy and then customize them and get somebody else to customize it for you at Fiverr.com if you want to do so. Another site is called damonza.com, and at this point you can find somebody who will actually do the ebook cover for you, so it's not really you do it yourself. Now, moving back to a do-it-yourself type site, there's a site called selfpubbookcovers.com. This site will allow you to actually customize your book. Let me give you an example. If we click on thriller/mystery, you can actually see book covers that you can customize. Sort of like the previous website that I showed you where you could actually purchase the book covers and customize them. But in this place, you can actually buy one, use their system that they will allow you to use to customize the title, the author name, the subtitle, and things like that. So this is another option that you can take if you want to go down this route.